You ever have one of those moments where life splits into two before and after? Mine came on a Tuesday. I was not snooping, let me make that clear. I was trying to print a receipt from a shared inbox, one of those family admin accounts my wife insisted we have. I clicked the wrong tab, that is it, one wrong click, and there it was. An email to a law office with a subject line that read urgent divorce strategy must secure assets. I should not have read it, I knew that, but I did. Every word her exact line. I want to take away his business, his house, before he finds out about the cheating. She did not even have the decency to be vague. You know that moment when your ears ring like someone just set off a firecracker beside your head? That was me, standing in the kitchen, frozen coffee in one hand, mouse in the other, heart doing backflips. Thing is, I did not even know I was supposed to be in a fight. Far as I could tell, life was steady, not perfect. She'd been cold lately, sure, but I chalked it up to stress, work, bills, maybe the dog chewing up her favorite pair of flats again. Normal stuff, not blow up your marriage and steal his life stuff. So what did I do? I forwarded everything, emails, attachments, the whole nasty paper trail, to my attorney, Mark. Guy's a bloodhound in a suit, the kind of lawyer you keep on retainer just in case life decides to get messy. Then I did what any rational man would do with a soon-to-be ex-wife plotting a financial ambush. I secured everything. The business moved key assets into a protected trust. The house title transfer initiated quietly, legally, all above board, bank accounts locked tighter than Fort Knox. And then I left town, no fight, no drama, just gone quiet as a whisper. When she finally got around to filing, probably strutted into her lawyer office thinking she was about to flip the chessboard. Mark told me. Her attorney turned pale. Word is the guy excused himself half through the meeting and did not come back for 15 minutes. I think she always am to quiet for a week. I am not flashy, never have been. I run a custom cabinetry business, real wood, hand done. I wear jeans more often than slacks, drive a pickup that rattles a little when it turns left, and I say please to waiters even when the order wrong. I do not shout, I do not throw things, I solve problems, and she never saw me coming. Funny thing is, we used to be a team when I started the business in our garage. She helped design the logo on her laptop. She brought me lunch and Tupperware while I sanded oak slabs out back. Those early days felt like building something together. But somewhere along the way she started measuring success by square footage and Instagram likes. Started comparing me to guys in Italian suits with plastic smiles and Leah sports cars. I noticed I just did not say anything, thought it was a face. Turns out it was an exit strategy. I do not know when the cheating started. I have not asked, probably will not. But the part that burns is not the affair, it is the betrayal of intention. She was not just leaving me, she was planning to strip me of everything I built with these two hands and pretend she was the one who did the heavy lifting. She'd forgotten who she married. I did not scream, I did not threaten, I just called Mark, transferred what needed transferring, backed up the books, and prepped my plan. By the time her lawyer served the papers, the foundation she planned to stand on had already been pulled out from under her, and I was not there to catch the fall. Mark told me later, her lawyer actually stammered. Apparently the guy opened his mouth ready to hit me with the whole score: routine, asset division, spousal support, maybe even some sad attempt at painting me as controlling or distant, classic playbook. Then Mark slid the email printouts across the table. Her own words, plain as day. I want to take his business, his house, before he finds out about the cheating. You would think she would have had the sense to hit delete. Instead, she handed me the most airtight defense a man could hope for, written in her own keystrokes. And her attorney, poor guy, had that look on his face like someone had just handed him a live grenade and whispered good luck. Mark told him calmly, we are happy to negotiate, but if your client wants a war, she has already lost it. The guy just nodded. No threats, no bluster, just a quiet shuffle of papers and an awkward "we'll be in touch." I could almost picture her sitting in the parking lot all done up, in her power blazer waiting for the victory speech. Instead, her lawyer walked out, with his head low probably, wondering if it was too late to switch clients. It did not take long for her to realize something was off. I had gone dark, no texts, no calls, no passive-aggressive responses to her "where are you" messages, just clean radio silence, which I imagine confused the life out of her. She probably expected a meltdown, some teary confrontation in the kitchen, me begging to understand why. She did not get that. What she got instead was a cold, empty house and a bank account with fewer zeros than she remembered. Turns out when you have your name on nothing and treat marriage like a game of Monopoly, you should not be surprised when someone else flips the board first. She tried to call my sister, then my mom left voicemails like we were just having a little misunderstanding. Tell him to come home, we can talk. We were way past talking. Word got back to me that she even stopped by the shop one day. All sweet smile and crocodile tears, told my foreman she was just worried about me. Wanted to clear the air. He told her I was not there. Told her I probably would not be back for a while. She asked if that meant I was shutting down the business. He just grinned and said, "Oh no, we are doing just fine, actually had our best quarter yet." Apparently, she left with clenched teeth and a purse that looked like it was about to split at the seams. That is when it hit me, she never loved the man, just the lifestyle. Our first court appearance was quiet, civil, even polite, if you can believe it. She came and dressed like a woman auditioning for a sympathy documentary. Muted colors, barely their makeup, clutching tissues like she might dissolve into tears at any moment. It was all theater. This same woman who once laughed at me for using coupons at the grocery store was now trying to play the wounded homemaker. But the courtroom is not her living room, and the judge does not care how well you fake fragile. Mark and I sat calmly, no theatrics, no gases, just facts. When her lawyer tried to paint me as financially deceptive, Mark slid the printed emails into the evidence file without saying a word. Just handed them over like a man passing a menu. "Your Honor, exhibit of the self-destruction of my client's wife in her own words." I watched her face when the emails were read aloud. That is a look I will not forget. She did not blink at first, just stared straight ahead, like if she held still long enough maybe it would all vanish, but it did not, and neither did the truth. The judge asked her lawyer if there was any rebuttal. There was not. She finally looked at me then, and I saw it behind the polished act and carefully applied vulnerability. Fear not, the I might lose some stuff kind. I underestimated him, completely kind, and for the first time in this whole circus I smiled. After court, she switched gears, like a politician con on a hot mic. The wounded dove act gone now, she was trying out misunderstood and remorseful, like this whole thing was just a bad dream that could be talked out over lattes and shared custody. She called, texted, even emailed me like we were business associates instead of as soon to be ex-wife who tried to bulldoze my life while cheating behind my back. Her messages had the tone, half apology, half PR campaign. Let us not let lawyers come between us. I never meant for things to get this far. We both made mistakes. Lady, I did not sabotage my own marriage and then send the blueprints to my lawyer like a Bond villain, monologuing before the explosion. She even threw in the classic "maybe we can go to counseling." I had to laugh at that one. Counseling, that ship did not just sail, it hit an iceberg, sank, and got turned into a Netflix documentary. But the best part, she suddenly became very, very interested in the business she once dismissed as just woodwork. Wanted to talk about partnership, vision, and co-parenting our professional future. Mark and I knew what that meant. She had realized she was not getting the payday she thought, and now she was angling for a seat at the table she tried to burn down. I did not expect it to come from her. Deep, but betrayal, like rot, does not stay hidden forever. It spreads until even the people close to you cannot stand the smell. Her cousin Lindsay reached out. We had never Been close, just saw each other at family barbecues and the occasional holiday function where she brought a new guy every year and pretended to, like the green bean casserole. But now, apparently, she had had enough. We met in a small diner off the highway neutral ground. She slid into the booth, ordered coffee, and did not waste time. You deserve to know, she said, I scanning the room. She has been planning this for a while. It was not just the affair, it was about money control. She even joked that she would come out of this like a widow with benefits. Widow with benefits. There it was, the real her behind the soft tones and the misty-eyed court appearances. Lindsay looked ashamed, like she had been carrying someone else's dirty laundry for months and was finally ready to dump it on the table. She thought you would roll over. She said you were too decent to fight back. That one stuck with me, too decent, like kindness is weakness. Like building a life together, paying the bills, showing up every day with loyalty in your chest is somehow naive. Lindsay handed me a flash drive, photos, messages, even a voice memo or two. I did not feel right keeping it anymore. I thanked her. I did not ask why she was doing it. I did not need to. Sometimes people do not want to watch a fire, they want to help put it out. She left with a quiet nod. It is funny you make sure the man your wife cheated with as this dark, brooding, movie villain type, tall, dangerous, probably rides a motorcycle and never pays taxes. But when I saw him, he was average, painfully average, like a clearance rack mannequin brought to life. His name was Bran, of course it was. I ran into him at a hardware store of all places, all 6 hinges and drawer pulls. He was standing there in khakis and a button-up shirt, like he'd just come from teaching a community college night class on how not to make a contact. He did not see me at first, but I saw him. I waited just for a second, watching this guy pick between brass and nickel cabinet handles like it was the most stressful decision of his week. I walked up beside him and said, "Go with the nickel, the brass will tarnish just like she did." He froze, just stopped breathing for a second, turned slowly, saw my face, went white. "Hey, listen, man, I did not." I held up a hand, not angry, not threatening, just calm. "Relax, I am not here to make a scene, just wanted to see the guy who got caught holding the grenade after the pin was already out." He tried to stammer out some half apology, I starting like a kid caught stealing gum. Something about not meaning for it to happen, and feelings just got complicated. I let him ramble for a bit, then said, "You did not just sleep with a married woman, you partnered with someone plotting to gut her husband's life and profit off the remains. That makes you a co-conspirator, not a romantic." He blinked, I smiled, gave him a friendly clap on the shoulder and walked away. Left him standing there with his shiny new drawer, PS, and a sinking feeling in his gut. I hope every time he opens a cabinet he remembers that moment, because I will tell you this, some people leave scars. I was not planning to hire a private investigator at first. I figured I had enough emails, confessions, a USB full of digital courtesy of her cousin Lindsay. But Mark, my attorney, gave me that look, the one that says, "Do you want closure or do you want leverage?" So I called in Dean. Dean looked like the kind of guy who had once been in military intelligence and now preferred his coffee bitter and his shirts tucked in with a sidearm. Soft-spoken, calm, not flashy, but sharp, real sharp. "Just need timelines," I told him. "Movements, confirm the affair, confirm if there is more." He nodded once, took the file, and disappeared into the kind of quiet only people like him know how to operate in. 4 days later I got an envelope. It was thin, just a few pages, a flash drive, and a sticky note that said, "Everything you need, call if you want the extras." I did not ask what extras meant. The timeline was precise, like someone had drawn a crime scene map down to the minute. There were hotel visits, gift receipts, even a dinner she told me was a board meeting that apparently ended with dessert and Brent's car in her driveway. And then came the photos, not explicit, just damning. You do not need nudity when you have timestamps, hand-holding in public, and a look in her eyes that I had not seen in years. Not for me anyway. There was even one of her kissing him outside that coffee shop she always told me had terrible service. Apparently, the lates improved once she had company. I stared at that flash drive for a while, then I filed everything away. Not out of rage, but readiness. She finally figured it out, not the affair part one. Am pretty sure she thought I would never know. No, she realized something worse. I was not coming back. Not to the house, not to the table, not to the marriage, and more importantly, not to the negotiation. She thought she would hold the cards, thought I would crawl into some emotional tailspin while she cleaned out the fridge and the savings account. Thought I would fumble and flinch and eventually give in for the sake of peace. But I did not, because peace is earned and she had gone to war. I had already moved most of the assets could offer access to business funds and even found a quiet little rental in another town where nobody knew my name and, more importantly, nobody knew hers. Mark called after another round of settlement talks. She wants to know why you are not responding, says she is willing to talk things through. I told him she is welcome to talk to my silence. That is the thing she expected, a response, some emotional scene, a dramatic plea, the kind of closure that would let her feel like she still had the upper hand. But I had already closed the book. She was just reading her lines in the wrong act. Then came the kicker. She tried calling my mom. That is when I knew she was panicking. She never liked my mom, always found her too blunt, too Midwestern. But there she was, leaving voicemails dripping in fake warmth, asking if she could please get in touch with me. Like they were old friends and not two people who once nearly came to blows over green bean casserole at Thanksgiving. My mom called me after. She sounds scared, she said. You sure you are done? I said, Ma, she tried to steal my house while I was still living in it. There was a pause, then a long exhale. It was a gray morning, cold enough to see her breath, but not cold enough to stop the wheels of justice from turning. I walked into the courthouse, and Boots' side had, since before the marriage, a coat that still smelled faintly of sawdust and a file folder thick enough to make a paper shredder nervous. She was already there, sitting, with her lawyer looking polished and put together. Probably thought she would walk out that day with half of everything and a fresh start, funded by my blood, sweat, and late nights in the workshop. She gave me a little nod, like we were co-stars in a polite tragedy. I did not nod back. Mark and I sat. We did not speak much, did not have to. Everything was in that folder, the emails, the photos, the timeline, the financial statements, the burner phone records, all of it stacked neatly like chapters in a book no one wanted to read out loud. When the judge entered, there was a weight in the room, not just the authority of the robe, but something else, finality. Her lawyer launched into a moan, said words like irreconcilable differences and emotional detachment. He painted her as a lonely wife, a woman simply trying to reclaim her life. Then it was our turn. Mark stood up, slowly opened the folder, and handed a copy of everything to the judge. He did not say much, just walked the judge through the facts, line by line, document by document, truth by undeniable truth. At one point, her lawyer leaned in and whispered something. Her eyes darted toward me, why, almost wet. She was not in control anymore. The script had changed and she had not learned the new lines. The judge flipped through the evidence. For a long time then, he looked at her. Mrs., do you dispute any of these materials? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. You do not really hear the gavel, not in the way TV makes it seem, this loud dramatic bang that echoes like a gunshot. It is quieter, heavier, more final than flashy. When it fell, it was not a crash, it was a closing door. The judge did not raise his voice, he did not need to. Authority does not have to yell when the evidence speaks for itself. Given the presented materials, he said, adjusting his glasses, the court finds that there was a calculated effort to conceal infidelity while simultaneously planning financial harm to the petitioner. He glanced away, then mine. This is not a case of mutual drift, this is betrayal, layered in manipulation. No one moved, even her lawyer, just deflated, like a balloon someone forgot to tie. The ruling, she got nothing from the business, zero. Claim to the house, no. Alimony just her car, her clothes, and whatever dignity she could scrape from the courtroom floor on her way out. Mark leaned over and whispered, "That is about as clean a win as I have ever seen." I did not smile, not out of restraint. I just did not feel like celebrating, because the truth is, winning still feels like losing when you had to walk through fire to get there. She did not look at me. On the way out, just gathered her design diner bag, her expression frozen somewhere between shock and resentment, and followed her lawyer into the hallway, like a child being led out of the principal's office. You would think I would feel triumphant, that I would walk out of that courtroom with some cinematic swagger and theme music behind me. But truth is, I just felt tired, not the kind of tired you fix with sleep. It is the kind that settles into your bones, the weight of months spent walking on a minefield you did not even know you were on. I drove back to the rental, small place, 2 bedrooms, B walls, the kind of spot where the fridge hums louder than you remember, and the water pressure's got a sense of humor. But it was mine, no hidden agendas, no carefully curated lies, no scent of perfume that did not belong. I made a grilled cheese, sat on the floor with a folding chair and a paper plate, and I will be honest, that sandwich tasted better than half the steak dinners we used to have at restaurants I could not pronounce. For the first time in a long while, I could exhale. There were still calls to make, to tie up clients, to follow up with. The business had stayed afloat, but it needed tending. So did I, if I am being honest. But there, in that moment, with melted cheese on cheap white bread and a squeaky chair under me, I felt more whole than I had in years.